Hi, everyone. We are today with Zoe. She is the chair of our civil engineering program here in Camosun College. So Zoe, how are you? Nice to have you here.
I'm good, thanks. I should add, I'm starting vacation in a week, and the acting chair for the summer, his name is Perry Peterson. So if there's follow-up questions, you should contact Perry Peterson.
Thank you very much for clarifying this, and hope you have a lot of inquiries after this quick questions and gathering and chatting most about civil engineering. So the thing is that I want to start with a few questions. I have divided this in three general topics. So I would like to start with the general questions, like I'm just going to throw this and, well, wait for your answer, like, what's the usual class size in civil engineering? Which is the ratio between international and domestic students? What countries, from what countries does the international students come from? Which is the average age? Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Okay, I have the questions. I'll start at the top. The usual class size. The max class size for a lecture is 40, and the max class size for a lab is 20. Now, that's the max. The average is probably 36 for a lecture, and probably 16 or 17 for a lab. Now, if we have something like 42 students, we won't run one more lecture for those 2 students, right? The instructor generally agrees that we'll have a few more students in the lecture, but then they'll have 3 labs. So they'll have 3 small labs to offset the fact that they're, instead of 2 full labs, they'll have 3 non-full labs to offset the fact that their lecture is a little bit over capacity. But in general, 36 in a lecture, 16, 17 in a lab. Our computer labs only have 20 computers plus the instructor computer. Anyway, so we can't put more in than 20 into a computer lab. The ratio, generally our classes are 20 to 30% international students, something like that. It fluctuates from year to year. This last year was a little lower, of course, because they couldn't get here. The interest for this fall, for fall 2021, there's a lot of international students, like a lot, like probably almost 35% or something like that. And it's all those folks that couldn't come last year, I guess. But on average, it's probably 25%. I don't know. Okay,
I think it's a good mix, right?
Yeah, it's a good mix. I feel it's about right. If it was half international students, they wouldn't necessarily be getting a Canadian education, so yeah, it's a good mix.
Okay, nice to hear that. And can you tell us a little about the countries they usually are coming from?
India, China. I don't recall any from Japan. I'm not told what country they're from, right? The students have to volunteer that information. I mean, they usually tell us, but it's not like I'm given a list. So, okay. But in general, India, China, Mexico, we've had quite a few from Brazil. We currently have one young woman who's from Peru. In the past, we have had a few from the United States. We don't have any right now. Well, we don't have any right now. Some Americans figured out that our international tuition is often lower than their domestic tuition. So they were coming up here. I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
We had one from England once, but the main 3 is probably China, India, Mexico.
Okay. Thank you so much. And the average age of the students?
No idea.
No idea?
No. To me, they're all 25.
Okay, let's say they are young and that's it, right?
They're the average age of international students or the average age of all our students?
No, the average age that goes directly to civil engineering.
Of all students.
Yeah.
I do believe I saw a number in the past and the average was 24 entering the program. And in civil, they're a little bit older than some of the other technologies. We have fewer of our students that enter directly from high school. We tend to get quite a few who were in trades and then decided they didn't want to do that for the rest of their life. And civil is the closest to what they were doing as a job before. So they joined civil. And those students tend to be very, very successful. We find one of the greatest predictors of success in our program is that they are a little bit older. If they're not straight out of high school, they tend to do a little bit better. I'm not saying they won't do well straight out of high school, but
that's what you've seen.
They tend to just have that little bit more maturity behind them. So,
Okay, well, thank you for that information. If we pass through the academic topic, I think this is a particular question that many of us have received in international admissions. Which is the main difference between studying civil engineering diploma or a civil engineering? Can you help us there?
The difference between the 2-year diploma and the 4-year degree?
Yeah.
Biggest one being the years. But in terms of the graduates, in Canada, as is most of the world, the term engineer is a legally protected term, just like doctor or lawyer. You can't call yourself a doctor if you don't have a medical degree and are licensed to practice medicine. It's in Canada, it is the same. You cannot legally call yourself an engineer unless you have an engineering degree and are a member of the Provincial Engineering Association. And you can't practice engineering unless you are a professional engineer. So a technologist couldn't, for example, like a technologist being someone with a 2-year diploma, they couldn't go out and start their own engineering company and sell their services as an engineer. They would have to work for a professional engineer. Now the work that they do, it tends to be a bit more hands-on, applied, related directly to drafting and design and field work and all that. The engineer might start out their career doing that kind of thing, but they would move more into sort of management, project management, report writing, and being the supervisor of several technologists. And the technologists tend to have more computer skills. Now it's not a written that an engineer won't be super versed in AutoCAD or Civil 3D or Revit. This is the software we use. But their education is going to include less training in that. So the technologists are the ones using the computers, and the engineers are the ones sort of telling them what they need to design or draw or something.
Okay, it would be like a more hands-on the technologist and more, let's say, like not theoretical, but like office and doing projects and designs if they complete the 4-year engineering. Am I right?
Yeah, I would say the engineer decides what needs designing.
Okay.
And the technologist would design it, and then the engineer would have to check it.
Okay.
Before it goes out the office, before it goes out the door to be built, it has to be checked by a professional engineer.
Right. Then being said that, which is the main scope then for the technologists if they, what will be they accomplish professionally?
What they do at work?
Yes.
Okay. Technologists' typical work duties could include, and it just depends on where they work. It could include going to site and doing surveying, doing inspections during construction to check that the design is being built as per design. Probably if there was errors or changes, they would review them with their engineer, supervisor, boss, just to be sure, is this okay? Is this design change okay, etc. They would, during the design process, they would take the survey data, they would draft and design what needs designing, whether it be a road or a building or anything. The software nowadays, the design and drafting is somewhat integrated. It used to be quite separate with just AutoCAD, which is a drawing software. You would often design on paper and then draft your design. Nowadays, the software they use for municipal designs, which is the roads and the sewers, is called Civil 3D, and it's made by the same people who make AutoCAD, but it has very powerful drafting tools within it, or not drafting, design tools within it. So the software does a lot of the design, but you have to tell the computer what you want is the product of your design. So the technologists these days are doing a lot more of the design, but the engineer would still be responsible for the product of the design, and they would direct the technologist what they want as an output of the design. The technologists could meet with clients to find out what it is that they need, but that's more likely to be the engineer.
Okay.
In terms of studies and assessments, the technologist could do a lot of the background legwork and research into options and costs and things, but the report itself would probably primarily be authored by the engineer, although the technologist could have large input into what goes in that report if it was some kind of feasibility report or assessment report of what is needed to be built, etc.
Okay, I think that this gives students a big picture of what to expect if they go in a 2-year diploma.
Yeah. Now that what I said there is sort of the model that what would happen in consulting. If our graduates go and work for a municipality, and they often do, because they're not selling their engineering services to an outside body, right? The municipalities will design and build works that they themselves own. A lot of the design responsibility is taken on by the technologist. The head of engineering of a municipality will still be an engineer, but at our local municipality, for example, technologists are primarily responsible for every step of the process, from assessment to meeting with the public to designing to supervising the construction. So a lot of our technologists that go work for municipalities, they find the job to be very rewarding and demanding and really high paying. The municipalities pay very well, and it's because the responsibility level is quite high when they're at a municipality. So.
I don't want to like go there, but I think it's the right moment to ask. What would you say is the minimum wage after graduating for the first job?
Generally, if they go and work for a consulting company, who pay overtime, the base hourly rate usually is around $25 an hour. The municipalities pay more, probably because they're union, and also it's a salary. They're not necessarily going to pay overtime. They're often $33 to $37 an hour. I mean, it's pretty impressive when you see some of the postings that what they're paying. So I believe you've frozen. Oh, unfrozen. Oh. Did I freeze? Did you miss any of that?
No. Everything is okay. It's good. Okay. Well, moving along. Just to pinpoint the thing with the jobs. are they able to manage or to mix studies with a part-time job?
That's a challenge.
Okay.
The program is quite demanding. Most of the students who have a part-time job are also in school part-time. And it's a 2-year program with 6 courses per semester, but it is possible to do it in 3 years doing 4 courses per semester. The breakdown of the courses does work well to do it that way. And then there's some time for a part-time job, but I would not recommend an international student with all of the other, overwhelming things of coming here and doing the schooling in their second or third language, also take on a part-time job. I know a lot do,
Yes.
but it's hard.
Okay. Well, it's been said then. And
Yeah.
What would you say is the prediction for jobs in Victoria? I don't know, for the next.
It's really good.
Okay.
It's good. Because civil is so tied to the construction industry, and the construction industry right now is booming. Like it's because the construction workers are all working outside, it wasn't affected by COVID at all, really.
Okay.
The greatest impact on the construction industry was the disruption of the supply chain. So, some companies, depending on what they were building, they couldn't get parts or materials, right? Which it really hit electrical, because so much of the electronics was coming from China and they couldn't get it. Whereas civil, right, like we're building things from concrete and gravel and asphalt, all of that is locally sourced. So I believe the price of steel is doubled, but in general, because interest rates have been low, construction's been booming, and the grad class of this year, they had no trouble finding job. In fact, I got 2 emails yesterday with employers saying, I posted this job. Can you please let your students know, because we need to hire somebody. It's been posted for a month and no one's applied. Wow. And they're asking me to help promote it. Okay. And yeah, one of those jobs was it was the city of Richmond, which is a municipality in the Vancouver area. They had a job posted for $37 an hour and they had no applicants. And I'm just like,
that's crazy.
I know. I know. So, and the guy called me and said, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, nothing. But I emailed the whole grad class and said, look, go to the City of Richmond website and see about this job. But I mean, I'm emailing like 45 students. I don't know how many are even looking anymore, right? They might have all found jobs, but none of them have responded saying, please stop spamming me. So
it's a high demand for civil engineering.
It is high, yeah. I mean, if you put restrictions on it, like I refuse to leave Victoria and stuff, it might take you a little bit longer to find the right job. But in general, there is good demand for our grads. So it's nice to see.
Could you throw out there the names of potential employers besides the municipalities?
The big consulting companies for civil in BC is McElhaney and Stantec and a company named WSP. Okay. So McElhaney's headquarters is Vancouver, Stantec is Edmonton, and WSP, their headquarters are in Montreal. I believe McElhaney is just Western Canada, but they hire a lot of our grads, and WSP and Stantec are international, but they are Canadian-based companies. There's also a structural consultant called RJC, which they used to be called Reed Jones Christopherson, but I believe they just go by RJC Engineers now. I think they're only BC, but they've hired a number of our grads. And then there's smaller consulting companies like Kerwood Lytle. and then the municipalities. Probably 40% of our grads go work at a municipality,
Okay.
and a few for the provincial government.
Thank you very
But
much.
the municipalities is the main, and there's dozens of municipalities around the province. Is that a long enough answer? Okay.
That was great. Zoe, and just to wrap up this chat, can you describe civil engineering diploma with only 3 words? What would you say?
Interesting, rewarding work.
Thank you. Okay. I think that's
I find it interesting, but you know,
well, I'm guessing all the students that are going to arrive will find civil engineering interesting as well, right?
well, I always feel that if you learn anything in enough detail, it's interesting. Otherwise, no one would collect stamps. So my main interest is sewage, which most people find amusing, but to me, it's fascinating. So.
Okay, let's say interesting, and each one of the students will find their own interesting thing in civil engineering to be passionate about, right?
Yeah, and it's really great to see that come out, especially when they do their final capstone project, because they get ultimate freedom. Well, we do have to approve their plan, but they get to choose what they design, and some of them just go nuts with making the most amazing design. So and they really love it, and they put all their heart into it, and they're so proud of their accomplishment, and so are we, quite honestly. So it's cool to see at the end of the 2 years what they're able to produce.
It would be very interesting if maybe in the near future you can share one of those projects to let the students well see what their classmates are creating, are designing.
They're okay. The website's being redone right now, but there's supposed to be a PowerPoint on there that's like a general civil technology program overview PowerPoint, and it should include pictures of some of the capstone projects.
Okay.
So I can dig it out and send you a link. They redid the website, and it has a lot of errors and wrong files and stuff. So I'll make sure that they've got the correct PowerPoint there, and I'll send you the link.
Thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
Thank you for your time and for sharing a little bit of what is going on in civil engineering diploma here in Camosun College.
You're welcome. Thank you.